Welcome to part 2 of the refresher of PMA's Phase 3 study design. This part will focus on our definitions. So now that we've talked about and talked through big design changes, let's review some important definitions. These definitions are also found in part 1 of your Phase 3 RE manual, and you can follow along in your guide as we review this section. If you would rather read it, you can skip ahead in this video. Note that some of these definitions change slightly in Phase 4, and some new terms are added, but most mainly remain the same. Let's start with survey types. So what is a phase? When we say phase, we refers to the annual data collection, which includes household questionnaires, female questionnaire, service delivery point, and client exit interview surveys. Previously in PMA 2020, this data collection was called a round, and now we call it a phase. The cross-sectional survey, which we refer to in the analogy as the snapshot, is a survey that collects information on a group of people that is representative of the larger population at the time of the survey. A panel survey, which we refer to as the stories in this analogy, refers to the survey that interviews the same people at predetermined intervals over a period of time. Remember, we're collecting their stories over time. What about questionnaire types? Well, the household questionnaire remains the same. It's the questionnaire that the household receives. The female baseline questionnaire is the questionnaire that women receive if they did not participate in the previous phase of the survey. If they did participate, we don't need a baseline. You get a baseline when you start. A female follow-up survey is the questionnaire that women receive if they participated in the previous phase of the survey and consented to follow up. And now let's just review a few key definitions from PMA. Structure. A structure is a freestanding building used for residential or commercial purposes. The structure is not to be confused with a dwelling unit, which is a room or group of rooms occupied by one or more households. And now we have a new key term for Phase 4, which is a cross-sectional dwelling unit. This is a dwelling unit that was selected at either Phase 1 or Phase 2 to be a part of the cross-sectional sample. This includes replacement dwelling units. It is not necessary that a household with panel women reside in this type of dwelling unit. In this type of dwelling unit, you interview all eligible women who are part of the household residing in the dwelling unit, regardless of whether or not they are part of the panel sample. We also have a new key term, a panel dwelling unit, which is a dwelling unit that we are interviewing because panel women moved to this dwelling unit between Phase 1 and Phase 2, or between Phase 2 and Phase 3. It is necessary that a household with panel women reside in this type of dwelling unit. In panel dwelling units, you only interview panel women regardless of whether there are other eligible women who are part of the household residing in the dwelling unit. And within a dwelling unit, we find at least one household, if not more. A household is a person or a group of persons, related or unrelated, who live together in the same dwelling unit and who eat food in the same pot, from the same pot. A few other definitions to keep in mind. A sample. A sample is an approach where we can collect data on a small number of people and actually draw conclusions that are valid for the whole country or province or state from that sample that we collected. An eligible woman is a woman who is 15 to 49 years old and either lives in a selected dwelling unit or is a guest who slept the previous night in a selected dwelling unit. And a panel woman is a participant in the panel survey who has already completed the female baseline questionnaire, the FBQ. and consent to follow up. This is when a woman who completed a female questionnaire and as part of that questionnaire has agreed to allow us to recontact her for future surveys. So she has given us consent to follow up with her. And loss of follow-up is when there is a panel participant who cannot be found for an interview in subsequent phases, and so is lost to follow-up. And this can also be a dwelling unit which is destroyed or no longer a dwelling unit in subsequent phases. And this is a dwelling unit that is lost to follow-up.